Expecting a close election in November, so a development like Kennedy dropping out of this race could be significant. Look, he was polling. Let's take you through the history of this. We're going to start here. This is when Biden was still the candidate, pre-Harris as the Democratic candidate. And this is an average of all the national polls. So just before Joe Biden dropped out, on average, in a three-way race that included RFK, you see Trump was leading Biden. Kennedy was sitting there at 9.2% on average. And it was a lead there of 3.5 points. Donald Trump was leading Joe Biden. Now, Biden gets out of the race. Harris gets in the race, and that's been a little bit more than a month now. But you see Harris, Trump, Kennedy. A couple things you notice. Number one, in the month since Harris replaced Biden, the Kennedy support's dropped almost in half, now just over 5% on the average. And that Harris support relative to Biden, look at that. That's gone up significantly, almost 7.5 points. The Trump support is more level, only up about a point right there. So you could see Harris actually pulling into the lead here over Trump in the three-way now since he became the candidate. And here's where it gets interesting. What if, the polling's been out there without Kennedy? What does it look like, Harris versus Trump? And here you can see it. Harris still leads, but it gets tighter. Look, in a three-way race with Kennedy, Harris's margin over Trump is 2.7 points. Without Kennedy, Harris's margin over Trump is 1.6. It's a little bit more than a 1-point tightening of the race with Kennedy out, according to the polls. And like these swing states, we talk about them, it's 10,000 votes here, 20,000 votes there. When you're talking about potentially the difference of 1 point, that could be massive. That could be enormous. So certainly that's why the Trump folks are excited to have Kennedy dropping out and getting on board with them. Now, the other thing, again, you notice here, we showed Kennedy support dropping. We see Harris rising relative to Biden. There's a relationship there. I want to show you two groups here. Two major groups where Kennedy has lost the most support since Harris got in the race. Latinos. Kennedy's support has dropped by 9 points with Latinos. Meanwhile, Harris's, relative to Biden, is up 12 with Latinos and younger voters. Kennedy's support has dropped 8 points with them since Harris became the Democratic candidate. Meanwhile, her support relative to Biden's up 17%. So there's been a relationship there. Harris has surged in part because she's taken votes that Kennedy had been getting. Now some of those remaining Kennedy votes may be a little more Trump-friendly. We'll see if